Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Basketball Conference, the ACC football podcast. My name's Joey Weaver. He's Mike McDaniel. Mike, week 3 is mostly in the books. How you doing? You want to talk about these games?
I do. Cal is playing as we speak, so we got a little live ACC football still occurring at 12:25 Eastern time on Sunday morning, which, I mean, this is just as we intended it.
Our first official ACC After Dark watch-along the recap show.
Yeah.
Been waiting for this day for so many years, Mike. Very excited to have these.
Official start of the All Coast Conference was this evening. That's what I would say.
That's right. Yeah, it is. It's 12:25 Eastern on the East Coast. Week 3, all but in the books here. We still have the Cal game going on. It is currently 7-3 at halftime. They lead San Diego State in a game that is really doing the Pac-12 After Dark thing. Some justice with just all sorts of shenanigans left and right with both of these teams. So that's a fun one. We're going to kind of tune in as we go through these. They're currently at halftime, so we'll get some second half commentary as we go through this game. Otherwise, Mike, a lot of action. Do you want to do a quick 10-minute rapid recap of all of today's games?
Let's do it.
Producer Scott, are we ready? 10 minutes on the clock.
We're good.
You're good. All right, here we go, Mike. 3, 2, 1. In order of what I've got on ESPN, Ole Miss 40, Wake 6, in a game that I think the second half, the scoreboard
bang, you're dead.
Definitely that. Scoreboard kind of crawled here, and I mean it took a while to completely get away from Wake Forest, but it also didn't really feel like the Steam and Deeks were ever really going to threaten in this game.
Wake showed some fight. They just were never going to beat Ole Miss. I made it clear on the preview. I thought there was a path for Wake to cover. I still think that path was there after watching the game and seeing some of the plays they did not hit on. Consequence of playing a really good team, though.
I was going to say, honorable effort from Wake Forest, but Ole Miss, if they're overrated as the number 5 team in the country, I mean, they're definitely a top 10 team in the country, right?
They're good.
There's a lot there. So no shame in losing this game if you're Wake Forest.
No shame in that game.
Number 6, Missouri, 27. Number 24, Boston College, 21. A game that Boston College went up 14-3 in the first half and kind of tried to hang on here, and Missouri eventually was able to take over. But, again, really nice effort from Boston College on the road to put yourself in position to pull off an upset.
Thomas Castellanos threw an interception with a little over 4 minutes to go in the first half. That really swung the game. Missouri went down and scored. Boston College lost the middle 8 of this game. We'll get into this when we do the full recap of it later. But they lost the middle 8, the last 4 of the first half, the first 4 minutes of the second half. They lost that 17-0 in a game that they lost by 6 points. That is brutal.
Yeah, not how you draw that up. Certainly not. But, again, I think honorable effort here for Boston College to go play a one-score game against a top 10 team on the road. So credit to them. But, again, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Number 10, Miami, 62. Ball State, nothing.
Ball State did not cover 38.5 or whatever that was.
Decidedly did not. And I don't know how much more depth we'll get into on this, but I definitely found myself thinking, Mike, that historically these Miami teams have had a good amount of screw around in them. I don't think this Miami team has a whole lot of screw around in them, and I think that's kind of indicative of the quality we're seeing from Miami right now.
Not yet, anyway.
Speaking of teams with screw around in them, Memphis 20, Florida State 12. The Noles just lose the game outright in Tallahassee. They are 0-3 again under Mike Norvell, and this thing might be spiraling out of control right before our eyes, Mike.
I was going to say, find me the wins, but then, I thought about it a little bit harder. Find me, any win. We're reaching.
Man, it's a mess in Tallahassee. I mean, the defense looked better today for Florida State and did their best to keep them in this game. That offense is an absolute catastrophe to watch.
At one point in this game, DJ was 6 of 7 for 7 yards and interception.
Which
is that good?
Are you asking Kobe? Because, I mean,
a candidate.
There's that. NC State 30, Louisiana Tech 20. This was a way tougher game for NC State than it should have been. Louisiana Tech got out to a pretty big lead in this game. NC State had to make a comeback. Grayson McCall banged up in this game. He left and did not return. I'm getting nervous about NC State here. I don't know about you, Mike.
I had a meme ready that I really wanted to share. I was hoping that NC State would lose so I could share it, but there's still time.
Oh, there's time. There's time for sure. Georgia Tech 59, VMI 7. Very easy, stress-free afternoon on the flats against an FCS team, the likes of which we have not seen in years. I honestly don't remember the last FCS game that was this stress-free for this Georgia Tech program. So that was a nice change of pace here.
Doesn't always happen like that against military academies from the FCS, as Georgia Tech knows.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Continue.
Pitt 38, West Virginia 34. I need a cigarette. What a game.
Holy cow, Eli Holstein.
Yeah. Pitt's got a guy.
Holy shit, Eli Holstein.
This was an incredible back and forth game, and West Virginia scored a touchdown with 6 minutes left, I think, on a pretty ridiculous circus catch. And I texted you at that point. I think that might be the nail in the coffin for Pitt.
And I said, "Yep."
Turns out, once again, call the ambulance, but not for me.
Not for me. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
It was not. Was not the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, Pitt scored a touchdown with about 30 seconds left to take the lead and ultimately win the Backyard Brawl.
Joey, we'll get to this in a few minutes. I'm not sure Pitt's very good, but they're not bad. So,
oh, no. Yeah, they're better than last year. This is an improvement for sure.
For sure, definitely.
Yep. Duke 26, UConn 21.
Speaking of cigarettes.
I told you we're not laying 17 with Duke. Absolutely not.
Would never lock up UConn.
Yeah, I mean, who could possibly lock up UConn, Mike?
Who among us?
Who among us? Duke comes back and scores 9 points in the fourth quarter to retake the lead. This was tougher than it had to be, we'll say.
Definitely tougher than it had to be. They got Malik Murphy and not much else.
Yep. North Carolina 45, NC Central 10 in another just total cakewalk, easy, stress-free game in Chapel Hill, right, Mike?
Mac Brown said that they will be shuffling quarterbacks moving forward, and that's the type of thing you say when you bring in Jacoby Criswell and he comes off the bench and throws for 161 yards and a touchdown and impacts the running game. That's the kind of statement you make.
It's also the kind of statement that you make when your quarterback room is cheeks. Sorry, in the range of cheeks. Excuse me,
yes.
Is the proper parlance around here. In the range of cheeks. Yeah, this is a 7-point game going into the fourth quarter. So don't let the final score deceive you. Virginia Tech 37, Old Dominion 17.
Antoine Powell Ryland had 4 sacks. He tied a school record for most sacks in a game.
That'll do.
Set by him last year. And it's a tie for the school record with himself and then a couple other players of note like Bruce Smith. Pretty good.
I was going to say, it's not like Virginia Tech is at a total lack of pass rushers historically. So that's a good place to find yourself.
Virginia Tech gave up 2 explosive runs, and other than that was just electric on defense the entire game. Second week in a row, they looked really good on that side of the ball. Offense, work in progress. We'll get to it.
I was going to say less than electric on offense for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Last one, Maryland 27, Virginia 13, and we had old friend Banana Slug reach out to us, kind of calling into question something that I think you said about Anthony Calandria about still making some dumb throws, and yeah, he had an interception last week that was pretty rough, but I was quick to respond and actually said, I think the decision making has improved. I think we've seen a step forward from year 1 to year 2 for Calandria. I'm open to reevaluating that statement. Let's just say
fair.
that.
Yeah, we got the good Calandria in this game, right before halftime, and we got plenty of bad Calandria here as well.
Yes, we did. Yeah, Virginia having a time of it on third downs in this game. They were 3 for 15, and that's not a great way to win a game. Also, being -4 in turnovers, not a great way to win a game.
Not great. They're going to be really, really upset when they watch the film.
Yeah, this is going to be a frustrating one. So, That is it. Unless you want to talk about the 7-3 first half of Cal and San Diego State, which, speaking of things, they're going to be very frustrated by the film. Like, Cal should be up in this game by a lot. And speaking of teams with a lot of screw around in them, there have been shenanigans left and right. There was a play, and I forget when this was, like late first quarter, early second quarter. Cal had 4th and 1 in plus territory. And Frankie Mendoza, first of all, they go empty set. 4th and 1, we're going empty, 5 wide. Mendoza throws into heavy traffic. There's like a bounce. I think it's intercepted. Ran all the way back for a touchdown. Fortunately for Cal, it gets called back on a block in the back. But
yeah,
it was just like 4th and 1. We're throwing into traffic, and it's run back for a touchdown. Like that was go ACC moment of the week potential for me.
You sent me a colorful text message after that play happened, and I just didn't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Yep. Anyways. All right. That's your rapid recap. A little over 9 minutes. We got it done under 10. That'll do.
Batting 3 for 3.
3 for 3. That's right. That rapid recap and all of them brought to you by Section103.com, the internet's premier place for all things wonderful Georgia Tech apparel. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, things for men, women, children, babies, something for the whole family. They've got NIL shirts, shirts celebrating some old Tech traditions, all the official word marks, the official Tech gold. You might recognize this is a brand new one. It's a new shirt, new design from Section103.com. Got the Ramblin' Wreck on there. Again, official Tech gold. It is super light, comfortable. Really nice for the hot summer months. Really enjoying this so far. This is a new addition to the collection for both me and for the Section 103 family. So go use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order. Again, I love mine. You will love yours. Mike loves his. He's not even a Georgia Tech fan. He loves his shirt. Super soft, super high quality.
Yesterday.
Yeah, there you go. So again, go to section103.com. Use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order. Go follow them on their social medias. Make sure you know when they're going to do some special deals. Especially if we get into football season here. Tech coming up with a couple big wins. You might get some sweet deals if you're following them on social medias and know when to go make your order. So one last time, section103.com. Use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order. Mike, where should we start with our deep dives here?
I hate to start things out on a sour note, but it's pretty funny. And we got a comment on our YouTube preview, on our preview from the other night, on our YouTube video, saying that we shouldn't have been laughing while we were previewing the Florida State game.
And while we were laughing?
We should have been laughing.
Memphis 20, Florida State 12.
Joey, I mentioned the DJU stat line in the first half, the 6 of 7 for 7 yards and an interception.
Dude.
This team is so bad. Like, they can't offensively. And like you mentioned, defense was better today, right?
Yeah.
So I do want to give them a little bit of credit. Defense was better today. Memphis really couldn't run the ball. There were some empty calories, passing yards by Seth Hennigan, right? Like his line looks a little bit better than probably how he played in this game. I thought Florida State's defense, by and large did a pretty nice job. Memphis at times in this game really struggled to move the ball. They were 7 of 17 on third down. Like, Florida State was getting off the field and giving their offense opportunities. The problem is that Florida State went 2 for 12 on third down. They only had 238 total yards. They have no semblance of a passing game really downfield, and they can't really run the ball. So I don't really know at that point, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. The more I think about it, I mean, on some level, like we expected this Florida State team to be run heavy. And the fact that they can't run the ball, to me, honestly comes down to their passing game. Because the fact, and I think back to, again, the game in Ireland where Georgia Tech was just loading the box and going single coverage against their receivers. You don't respect their receivers to get open. You don't trust DJU's accuracy to hit them when they are. Like, and so if you're not going to get beat down the field, there's no threat of this. You're not going to be able to run against defenses that aren't afraid of you being able to pass, right? Like, And even on some level, we watched Paul Johnson and Georgia Tech run the ball like 70% of the time for a decade. And part of the reason that worked is because they could always find ways to hit you over the top with a deep shot on a pass every so often. Florida State doesn't have that in the bag right now. So you're just kind of screwed. Like, there's just not, if you can't do that, you're not going to be able to run.
Florida State averaged 4.33 yards per play. That was in the 13th percentile this week of all the games played.
Under 2 yards per carry on the ground. I mean,
yeah. Third down success rate, 15%. That is in the second percentile. I'm running out of words to describe the futility of this offense from a year ago, and I think Jordan Travis might have been covering up maybe some institutional stuff last year. Like, this offensive line.
But they had Jordan Travis was one of 9 guys drafted, and I think he was the only one that wasn't in the top 3 rounds, right? So there's definitely some talent drain here.
There's talent drain, but to the point where we're talking about whether or not by we, I mean me. I'm talking about whether or not Florida State's going to win a game this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it sounds drastic, but like, show me the wins. I tweeted out 2-10 this afternoon after this game went final, and I said, hey, 2-10, but that might be aggressive. And like, it's not like Florida State's got the toughest schedule in the world, but like, this team can't move the ball on anybody, and the defense is just kind of mediocre. Like, they played well today, but like, they're just kind of mediocre. So
yeah,
mediocre defense, terrible offense. You're going to be a team struggling at best to make a bowl game.
Yeah,
and I think this point by Lee Nobody makes a lot of sense. FSU looks broken. They had a game plan coming into the season and can't pivot. Yeah, I think their game plan was to run the ball. Now they can't do it. And then they were going to lean on their defense and their running game, and I think it was pretty clear they were going to go all out into that when they picked DJU to be their transfer portal quarterback. It was clear they're going to be run heavy, like you mentioned. It's not working. They can't run. They can't run it.
No, they can't. And I continue to wonder, we've talked about it some on this podcast, but like, I understand the idea that you ponied up a good amount of money to get DJU here out of the portal. And so that's why you want to play him maybe instead of Brock Glenn, your redshirt freshman returning guy. But I mean, we're kind of at a point. I mean, you have seen from DJ over and over and over and over and over again that he can't do it, Mike. He can't do it. He's missing open dudes, like easy throws he can't make. At what point do you just try something different for the sake of trying something different? And if we're going to point at the money and all that and say, well, we spent all this money to get this guy, let him play. At some point, that's like sunk cost fallacy stuff, right? Like,
I agree. Yeah.
You spent the money. It's over. Clearly, this is not winning games for you. So you got to try something that might, I would think. And it's kind of wild that they haven't even tried it yet to me.
I mean, if it's going to still look this bad after a bye week, maybe you should try something else.
Yeah.
We're getting to the point where, like, I think you need to. Because, I mean, running this same product out every week is not going to win you many games, right? And maybe, and there's a pretty good chance, actually, that it kind of just is what it is, right? They run a different quarterback out there, and what difference does it make?
Yeah.
So, but you got to try something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of where I'm at is maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but can we at least try it? Right. Can we, because again, you kind of keep getting the same results and those results aren't good enough here. So I don't know, man. Did you see some of the stuff the fans in the stands with bags over their heads? And we've pretty quickly gotten into a woe is me Florida State fan territory this season. So that's happened faster than I thought it would.
Yeah, the paper bag situation. We also have a little sound we pulled. Also, Mike Norvell. I mean, if you think we're sounding the alarms, there was, and I'm sure some of you already heard this, there was a literal sounding of alarms during Mike Norvell's press conference. We got that sound?
That we needed to respond in those situations. But I mean, I think from their attitude, their approach, I mean, even there in the locker room, we're all disappointed. As we continue to work and continue to pour into each other and the opportunity we have.
That alarm started going off, and this went on for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And if you watch the video, there's not even like a look on Norvell's face of like, kind of keep talking, but like look around and try to figure out like, wait, what's going on? Is anyone going to stop this? Do we need to go? Like anything like that. He just keeps talking. Like he's just continuing to answer. Yeah. I thought it was kind of amusing to watch in that way.
He looks totally lost, Norvell.
I don't know what it is, man. Like, and I think he's a good coach. Like, I think what you saw the last year and a half for Florida State was more of what you can expect here. But yeah, I mean, something's going completely wrong here, and I'm not sure how much Norvell knows what it is. And what I will say, the thing that I'm curious to see, we mentioned this a while ago, but I don't think we brought it up basically ever since. Keep in mind, this is the first 3 games of the season. This is where Alex Atkins, his offensive coordinator, has been suspended for NCAA stuff. And so I wonder a little bit, you get him back starting next week. If we start to all of a sudden see something right itself, you have to wonder, maybe there's more to that than we were going to give him credit for.
I mean, if this turns into a wagon on offense, I think it's pretty safe to say we know what happened, but I'm just not seeing it. Now, the other thing I think we need to note here, Bud Elliott mentioned this actually on Cover 3, and I thought it was interesting. They're talking about like maybe some of these guys for Florida State that are in leadership roles just like aren't ready for it. Like, you got to lead a locker room out of this mess with a bunch of sophomores. Like, are we doing that? It's like DJU, who really hasn't been there, he transfers in, and then like a bunch of young guys.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not the ideal situation to be in, but this is also what happens when you rely on a bunch of transfers to kind of like supplement some stuff. I mean, it's a catch-22 in the portal era. Like, you can find a lot of talent to help fill some gaps on your roster, but also if you're relying on those people to kind of be the leaders of your football team, you're going to have to find new leadership every year. And there's something to that in the locker room. Like, when things go south, are these guys going to be built to handle it? I'm just not sure, based on what we've seen, that they are built to handle this stuff. So yeah, that's where I wonder, like, are some of these guys going to quit on Norvell this year on this roster? The answer is probably yes. Now,
it might be in progress, honestly.
And it might be in progress. And I don't think that Norvell's a bad coach. But this is really, really bad this year. This is bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know if they get this fixed or not at this point. Honestly, I'm a little bit out on Florida State just entirely this year. We'll have to see. Lee Nobody, when does Cal call off the Dogs against FSU? I don't know if you've been following Cal Twitter all week since their win over Auburn, but I've been learning about this little subculture here, and it's very funny. And I saw a meme this afternoon that we're about a week away from being renamed to Woke Campbell Stadium.
Campbell Stadium. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that next Saturday.
I like Cal in that game, by the way.
Cal's probably favored, honestly.
Yeah, I saw a question in the chat. Will Cal be favored next week? Yes, absolutely will be.
I think they will be. They will be. Florida State loses to Memphis 20-12.
Whatever. Backyard Brawl. Pitt 38, West Virginia 34.
Never in doubt.
Yeah, buddy. Never in doubt. We hit on the rapid recap. Garrett Green threw a touchdown pass to Justin Robinson. It's a 28-yard touchdown pass with like a little less than 5 minutes to play in this game. And that was the moment where you texted me and said, yep, I think that's it for Pitt.
Made it a 10-point game at that point?
It was a 10-point game. Yeah, made it a 10-point game at that point. then, I mean, all Pitt did was go right down the field, 5-play, 75-yard touchdown. Then they force a 3-and-out. Then they get the ball back, and Eli Holstein, grit and balls, baby. Grit and balls.
Yeah.
I think what you said in our group chat was that he basically just had like way too much pre-workout. It was just like way hopped up.
He looked like he was about to give himself a stroke from just being so fired up on the sideline. It's like,
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Like, it's okay, Eli. Like, and I would kind of get it if like Eli grew up in Pittsburgh and was was always a Pitt fan and just like always dreamed of playing in this rivalry and like all this stuff. But I don't sense that that's quite the case. I think he's just an extra fiery guy.
Yeah, he's a little crazy. He's a little crazy. He's a little.
This
crazy.
is a hell of a game, Mike.
I mean, this was a crazy game. I mean, this went back and forth a bunch. The back-to-back touchdown drives that Eli Holstein engineered in the fourth quarter was just big boy stuff from a freshman quarterback. I mean, it's just big boy stuff.
Yep.
I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, he marched that offense right up the field twice when they really needed to score. We're getting a Cal score update here, 14-3 Bears.
Yeah, Cal had a long run that set up a shorter touchdown run. Yeah, they might be pulling it together here in the second half.
Beautiful. I mean, yeah, Holstein was really good here. The fourth quarter was crazy. The defense, like the Pitt defense, they forced a 3-and-out, and then the turnover on downs at the end. You know, you get the stops where you needed to, and they were really struggling to get stops in this game. Like both teams were. It was really back and forth. Just the nature of the game. I will say the one area where Pitt prevails here is the turnover battle. West Virginia had a couple of them that ended up looming pretty large. Neither team really had a ton of third down success. So this is a game where, there's 72 total points scored, and these teams combined for 4 third down conversions.
Yeah.
So just a weird one in that regard.
I mean, West Virginia has as many fourth down conversions as they had third down conversions, which
yeah,
sure.
right. Yeah. West Virginia was 3 for 4 on fourth down and 3 for 14 on third. Pitt 1 for 8 on third down here. So
both teams come up short of 400 total yards in a game where they both got into the 30s, which felt odd to me, especially as an under locker on this podcast.
We had also some interesting penalty calls. We had some targeting ejections. Pitt had 12 penalties for 112 yards, which prompted this Pat Narduzzi quote after the game, if we have the sound.
You challenged your defense, specifically your secondary, in this one. How do you think they answered that?
I think our DBs did a heck of a job, period. I mean, some of the calls we got late hit out of bounds, they catch a ball with their hands in the face, and I've never seen anything like it. Wow. We beat West Virginia in the Backyard Brawl, and we beat the officials too in one game.
We beat West Virginia in the Backyard Brawl, and we beat the officials today too. Iconic from Narduzzi.
Leave it to Pat.
Absolutely iconic. Joey, you sent me a tweet. You sent me a tweet this evening from David Hale that I'm going to pull up.
This is
right
a
now.
Wild stat, by the way.
That is hysterical. So
it goes back to 2005, I think.
It does, yeah. Courtesy of David Hale from ESPN. When trailing by double digits in the fourth quarter, from the year of our Lord 2005 to the 2023 season, when trailing by double digits in the fourth quarter, Pitt was 0-72. This year, the last 2 weeks, Pitt is 2-0.
Never in doubt. I keep telling you, Mike, never in doubt. Pitt had him right where they wanted him.
This is why I said at the top of the podcast, I'm not sure Pitt is good, but they're definitely not bad.
Yeah. They're entertaining.
They're
too.
absolutely entertaining.
Which, by the way, that in of itself is an upgrade on last year. So good on Pitt for that.
Yeah.
I did want to point out that West Virginia touchdown late that made it a 10-point game, that was the only time during the game that this was outside of one score. This was super back and forth the whole day. We traded leaders, and there were, there was a lot of back and forth here, and it was very close basically the whole game. And so very different environment and feel to it than last year's Backyard Brawl had to it.
Yeah, for sure. Real back and forth, a lot of offense. Weirdly, not a lot of offense on third down. It was just a very strange game. Like, if you were just looking at the box score and you see 72 combined points and you see all of the yards we had, and you see Eli Holstein's stat line, he was fantastic, went over 300 yards passing. And you see all of this offensive stuff, but then you see the third down conversions, and then you see the weird stat about West Virginia having as many third down conversions as fourth down conversions. Just some really, really weird stuff in this football game.
Yeah. Speaking of weird stuff, apparently the Cal student section, according to Lee Nobody, the Cal student section got a second unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for throwing stuff on. Did they get ejected for this now?
I have the game like right over my right shoulder here, and
I missed that for sure.
I
got it on
missed
the
that.
other monitor over here. If you keep seeing me look over here and see what's going on.
Yeah, checking every now and then.
Mike, is this
Lord.
the year?
Is this the year that Pitt goes undefeated in the non-con? Well, Joey, funny you ask. Pittsburgh hosts Youngstown State next weekend, and let me tell you, if they lose,
Go Penguins.
if they lose to Youngstown State in a 3:30 window, this isn't even a nooner.
Buddy.
This is made for a nooner.
Do you know what would be the most Pitt thing that could possibly happen in that game?
Losing to Youngstown State. I'm bummed about this for one reason only, because now when Jim Hammett comes on the season preview podcast, he can't look at me with that smile on his face and be like, our favorite stat is still alive. I give it to you every year on this podcast, the favorite stat.
Yeah.
Pitt is still not going undefeated in the non-con since joining the ACC.
Yeah. Somehow Pitt's only gone undefeated in the non-con once is a lot less fun than Pitt has never gone undefeated in the non-con.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to take care of business, and I think we finally break the streak somehow, some way. But that does not make it any more believable that it has gone on for this long this way.
We're going to have to start having a conversation. I know I had a conversation with you on the preview about Cal maybe, being a sneaky team to watch for Charlotte. How about Pitt?
For Charlotte, maybe. Yeah, I mean, again, we haven't seen them in conference competition yet. So, I mean, they got to play Cal. They got to play Syracuse. They got to play Clemson and Louisville. I mean, they go to Boston College. Like,
There's some toughies.
yeah, this is, this schedule is tougher than I think it looked in the preseason. We'll say that. I think a number of these teams are at least as good, if not better, than we thought they were going to be. So
Yeah, I agree.
we'll see what they end up doing when they get into conference play here shortly. But can't rule anything out, I guess, this brave new world of 17 teams for 2 spots.
It's a deep conference.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll give it that. Pitt 38, West Virginia 34. Pitt wins the Backyard Brawl and gets one back after last year. And Pitt, by the way, Pitt was our home field apparel home dog of the week, and they got home, Mike. They won the game. Use promo code GOACC for 15% off your first order at homefieldapparel.com. All sorts of great T-shirts and sweatshirts, and they got hats and like bomber jackets and all sorts of other crazy stuff there. Very vintage, very comfortable, high quality, good stuff they got there. Once again, homefieldapparel.com. Appreciate their support here as well.
Use the
go
link
to
in the
Columbia.
description,
Link in the
Yeah.
description.
Yep.
please.
Important.
Do that. Do that.
Let's go to Columbia. Missouri 27. Number 6 Missouri 27. Number 24 Boston College 21. I believe this was one of 2 ranked games this weekend. The other one was Arizona and Kansas State. No, Kansas State wasn't ranked, were they?
Yeah, I think they were.
Barely, right?
I think they were. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I was right. One of 2 ranked games on the weekend in college
Is that it?
football.
I guess yeah, you might be right. Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, Boston College, first of all, admirable effort here. BC jumped out to a 2-score lead early. Castellanos was playing well. But then Castellanos had that really, really costly interception before halftime. He was holding the ball, threw it late over the middle of the field into double coverage. An awful, awful interception. You just can't throw that pass flat out. Can't throw the pass.
Yeah, that set Missouri up for a short field touchdown. I mean, that was a 3-play, 25-yard
Just a
touchdown
huge,
to tie the game.
just a huge, huge, huge swing there before half.
Yep.
It simply cannot happen. So BC's in a spot where they're trailing at the half. I mentioned the issues that Boston College had in the middle 8 of this game. That was kind of the start of it, right? Throwing that interception. Missouri scores before halftime there. They get that touchdown. BC then punts. They go 8 plays, 35 yards, and punt after giving up that Missouri score. Then Missouri goes down and gets a field goal before halftime. That's a real killer. Then Missouri got the ball to start the second half, and they score a touchdown right out of the break. So all of a sudden you go from a game being tied, right, to then trailing and really having to dig yourself out of a hole. And BC's offense in the second half, just a really hard time. Castellanos threw another pick. They had a bunch of punts. Just really couldn't get much going. Missouri actually took a 2-touchdown lead in this game. BC scored, late-ish.
About 4 minutes left, yeah.
Yeah, late-ish to kind of make it look more competitive than it was in the second half. But, I mean, I think the Bear team won here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's pretty apparent. We mentioned on the preview we weren't sure really what Missouri was. I come away from this game not really thinking that Missouri is bad, like a bad number 6 team in the country. I come away thinking that Boston College is pretty good, right? I mean, they gave Missouri some issues early. Missouri adjusted with all their athletes. Luther Burden was really, really good. He had the touchdown right before half after the interception, and he's just an impossible cover for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Just
One of the
can't
best receivers
cover
in
him.
college football. I mean,
Yeah. So
He's
what are you
special.
gonna do? Yeah, but yeah, I think BC's well coached.
Yeah, no, completely. And I mean, I think big credit here to Boston College's defense, especially. I mean, that offense for a team that put up 21 points and was able to get this close. Boston College had a lot of relatively empty, quick drives. Missouri had the ball for over 35 minutes of this game. They ran like 20 more plays. Boston College's defense was out there for most of the game, and by and large did a really nice job of preventing the explosive stuff. I mean, you had kind of one long catch and run from Luther Burden. You had kind of one long run from Nate Noel, but for the most part, again, you're out there, and they made Mizzou. They made Mizzou go actually earn it, play to play, and that's how this game ends up as close as it does, because kind of a limited possession game, honestly, if you. So credit to Boston College for that and for keeping this close. Losing a game when you're ranked 24th, you're probably going to drop out of the polls, and I'm not completely convinced that you deserve to be ranked to begin with, but I think this is still an effort you can be proud of, that you went on the road and made this a 1-score game against what is I think a fairly legitimate top 10 team in Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri only had 4 explosive plays in this game.
Yeah.
Shout out as always to Game on Paper.
Shout out to Akshay.
Yep.
Akshay and the lads.
Not Batia, not the golfer.
Yeah.
But yeah, only 4 explosives for Missouri. So like you mentioned, I mean, Boston College by and large, their defense did a pretty good job. Keeping Luther Bird in that really explosive Missouri offense that was an absolute wagon last year and returned a lot of that same offense. Managed to hold it down for the most part for 4 quarters. They were in the Missouri in the 33rd percentile for success rate on offense in this game, right? So, I mean, really, it was on a down-by-down basis. Boston College, for the most part, held Missouri in check. And it was the offense of Boston College that, I think let them down a little bit, right? I mean, the 2 turnovers by Castellanos end up being an absolute killer. And for the plays that he makes, and there's another quarterback we'll talk about in a little bit, for the plays that he makes, he'll make a play or two during the game that's just an absolute killer, right?
Yeah.
And this is one of those situations where you come away a little bit upset, I think, if you're a Boston College fan looking back on the game, and particularly the throw before halftime where you're just like, pockets collapsing, nobody's open, and it's a heave and hope situation. And that's just, you cannot do that against a really good SEC team. You just can't do it, especially on the road. And when they have Luther Burden, like, you just can't do it. You can't do it, man. So that was when the game obviously flipped. It felt like the game was flipping at that time, right? And then Boston College would then punt on the ensuing possession and then give up the field goal before halftime. That's when you really started to feel the snowball kind of rolling downhill, because you knew Mizzou was getting the ball coming out of half. So that's kind of where BC lost this game. 17-0 in the middle 8 is not good, but in a game that you lose by 6. But I think that the Eagles showed pretty well here overall. I think it's pretty clear that Bill O'Brien's got them pretty well coached. And if this is the worst that Boston College is going to be under Bill O'Brien, they're probably going to be okay.
I think so. And I mean, again, to your point, and I agree, a couple bad decisions from Thomas Castellanos here, but by and large, this is a well-coached team. And being well-coached, it's at some point you kind of see on a game like this, it only gets you so far, when Missouri is also reasonably well coached and has better talent than you do. But being well coached in the ACC, you can make a decent amount of hay in this league, right? Like it doesn't take that much from a talent standpoint. If you're a well coached team and you can avoid shooting yourself in the foot, you can get a long way.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot else here. Again, I thought a good showing from Boston College to keep this close and to keep themselves in it. And, shame you couldn't get it done, but I think you represented yourself in your conference well.
Let's go to Charlottesville.
Asking important questions. Is the Northern ACC better than the Southern ACC? Always on the table.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple schools up in the Northern ACC this year making some noise. So
Yep. And then Joe the Pilot points out Thomas Castellanos is from I think he's pointing at me saying, "Hey, Joey, this guy Castellanos," not saying Joey Castellanos. I don't know who that is, but Thomas Castellanos, yes, he is from Waycross, Georgia. And if I'm remembering right, I think Georgia Tech tried to recruit him, but not as a quarterback. I think they saw that he was listed in the high school program at 5'9" and said, maybe like slot receiver or like corner, but not quarterback. And he wanted to play quarterback, and now he's at Boston College.
Touchdown, Cal.
There you go, Cal. Working on putting this one away. There you go. Looking a lot better in the second half.
I think Cal's kind of good.
Starting to think that.
Yeah.
Starting to think that. And again, still early. Very much questions about the level of competition they've played.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
We'll continue to evaluate that. But they definitely don't look hopeless or, they don't look like they're disorganized or poorly coached. That's for sure.
Mendoza's good. I like him. He's young and good.
I'm going to go with fine. I don't think he's outstanding. I don't think he's bad. I think he's fine. Still young, too. I mean,
watch this replay. Hits a slant on the hot route. Bam.
Oh, yeah. That was a great throw.
Reads the linebacker downhill.
Read
Beautiful.
that perfectly. Yep.
Beautiful.
Good
let's
throw.
go to Charlottesville, Joey. Let's go to Charlottesville. Maryland 27, Virginia 13. And this can be chalked up to a few different stats here, right? I mean, you mentioned during the rapid reaction, UVA was 3 of 15 on third down. Obvious killer.
Mm-hmm.
4 turnovers here in this game. Just cannot happen. And then you didn't force any on the other side, right?
Tough to win like that.
Tough to win like that for sure. Calandria had a couple of just brutal interceptions here. Like really, really, really bad. There was a play that he tried to make late. It was 27-13 Maryland, right, which ended up being the final tally. They're already up against it. There's like less than 6 minutes left. Virginia goes for it on 4th down. Calandria rolls out to his left, and there's just like nothing there downfield. So he like tries to run for it. The only problem is that it was like 4th and 10. And it's just like, you are not going to pick this up. So like, credit to him for trying to make something out of nothing. But the problem is, like, I highlight that play specifically, and I don't have as big of a problem with that play because of like the time and the situation. But it's just like my overall point when I watch him play. He just makes some decisions where you just want to rip your hair out. But he makes also some really, really special plays, right? I tweeted this, he had the touchdown run before halftime. I tweeted, he's kind of got the juice. He's got the juice, right? And he can make some plays with his feet, and he makes some throws through the air where you're like, all right, that's big time. But then in this game in particular, like, you saw the type of mistakes that he can make and how frustrating it can be if you're a Virginia fan. And I think if you just like go back and watch tape of this game, like, you're looking at the 2 interceptions he threw. You're looking at the missed throws on 3rd down, and there were a few that he'd like to have back. And that's the story of the game here. Like, I thought Virginia was there, like, playing with Maryland. I thought they were prepared. I don't think if they play this game 10 times, I don't think they lose by 2 touchdowns very often.
Yeah,
like,
no.
I thought they were right there. So
yeah,
I think if you look back at the end of the year and you see a UVA team like fighting for bowl eligibility, you're going to really wish you had this one back. That's my takeaway from this, anyway.
Yeah, I think there were definitely some adjustments made at halftime by Maryland. I mean, you look at at halftime, this is 13-7 Virginia. And I mean, they've got the lead, and then you come out in the second half. Virginia never scores. I think they had the ball 5 times. 3 of them, they went 3 and out. There was a turnover, and then there was a turnover on downs at the end. Maryland gets the ball 5 times, 6 times basically in the second half. Touchdown, punt, field goal, touchdown, 10 plays end of game. Like, they were able to run it out, and they had a lot of success in the second half. It seems like Virginia wasn't able to anticipate maybe what they were going to try to change up. They weren't able to change on the fly, and so I do think some of this falls at the feet of Virginia's defense. The yardage doesn't look super bad, but the results, especially again in the second half, were pretty brutal. Virginia's defense played well in the first half, got off the field a whole bunch, but yeah, it's the second half here where this thing kind of got away from them totally, and that's what cost them the game. In addition to, again, turnovers and some of those things as well.
You just simply cannot only convert 3 times on 3rd down and then turn it over 4 times. You just can't do it. You can't do it in a home game against anybody. You just can't do it.
It's again, nearly impossible to win like that. So I don't have a whole lot else here. I mean, again, just not a great night for Virginia. It happens. And again, Tony Calandria, not as polished as I maybe thought he was starting to look early in the season. But again, that's kind of early season returns for you. Sometimes they're not exactly what they seem. So I think it would behoove Virginia quite a bit to figure out a way to run the ball with some consistency.
Yeah, I'd say.
So it's not build the entire thing out of Anthony Calandria, but you do what you can. And so I thought they played okay here. I'm with you. If they played this game 10 times, they maybe only lose this by 2 touchdowns a couple times, like twice out of 10, but yeah. I think they could win this game 3, 4, 5 times out of 10. And so, it's fine. You'll figure it out.
Like I think I come away from this thinking Maryland is probably the better team. I mean, I think the halftime adjustments point you made was really, really good because, like, Virginia's defense coming out of halftime, like, there were some plays that Maryland made in the passing game where I was like, Virginia just, like, flat out didn't cover that. And it just felt like Maryland's receivers just weren't getting open in the first half. So there were clearly some adjustments made, I think. And I think you make a good point there where it does feel like some halftime adjustments were made. Maryland had more success on offense early in the second half, and Virginia was kind of left a little bit flat-footed. And then you can't have an interception and a fumble after halftime. The turnover on downs at the end, I mentioned the Anthony Calandria scramble that just didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Lee Nobody, shouldn't UVA expect more than this? Here's the thing, though. Like, I think that Elliott's done a decent job this year so far.
Yeah.
Right?
I think they're improving year to year. I think maybe not as drastically as you'd hope for, but I think this team is better than it was last year.
I mean, I don't think they're in this game last year.
Yeah, maybe not.
Like, Maryland's not great, but, like, do you think they're in this game last year? I'm not sure that...
Probably not. I mean, I think Virginia's probably at least a half step better than they were last year. I think Maryland probably a half step worse than they were last year. So I don't think they would have been in this game quite that much the last year. But I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. And with a lot of this, like I like to go to the word ambitious. With some of this ambitiousness, you look a little bit at like what has the program been historically, and Virginia certainly has had some peaks, but should they be expecting to make bowl games and stuff? Yes, I think that's a fair expectation here. Should we be talking about them as a conference title contender year in and year out? That might be pushing it. So
yeah, I agree.
It's just better, I think, calibrating your expectations with what your institution is institutionally. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they're like, to Lee's point, like, shouldn't they expect more than this?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, what are they expecting? What are they expecting? I mean, they come out in press conferences, like, all these ADs are like, yeah, we want to compete for conference titles. But, like, realistically, when they step away from the podium and they're, like, behind closed doors, like, what are they actually expecting? They're probably actually expecting, like you said, like, make a bowl game most years and maybe beat Virginia Tech once in a while. That's probably what they're hoping for in Charlottesville, right?
Yeah. More than once every 15 years.
Right. Yeah, like, this feels good. Can we talk about this a little bit more? Maybe beat Virginia Tech more than like once every couple decades.
Yeah, exactly. I will say, by the way, so again, they're 2-1, like decent little start to the year. I mean, you had a big comeback win against Wake Forest last weekend. That's great.
Coastal next week.
Going to Myrtle Beach next week. That, again, not a finished product in Charlottesville. I think you should be okay against Coastal next weekend. Then the bye week, and then Boston College, Louisville, at Clemson, North Carolina, at Pitt, at Notre Dame, SMU, at Virginia Tech. So, I mean, you're going to be underdogs in at least 4 of your remaining games, I would think. This is what we talked about in the preseason, right? Is that Virginia might be improved, the record might be worse because the schedule gets really pretty brutal here pretty quickly, I think.
I mean, I guess the silver lining is you get BC at home, you get Louisville at home, you get Carolina at home, you get SMU at home. So maybe try to pick off 3 of those. I
guess, yeah. I mean, there's only going to be a couple of those opportunities where you're either a short underdog or a favorite. And, I mean, to win every one of those can be a little bit banking on, flipping a coin 10 times and it coming up heads every time, basically. It's like chances are those close games, you're going to be closer to 50-50 on them than winning every single one of them. So, got to be careful with that. Yeah.
It's going to be tough. Their over-under this year was what, like 3.5, 4?
I think it was, 4 or 4.5, maybe. And I was raring and ready to go to take that over. And then I saw the schedule and was like, actually, maybe not.
I think you're still ahead of schedule, though. I mean, I think picking up the win at Wake is huge, right? So it makes this game losable. and then you get Coastal, and you should be fine there, right? So I mean, you're going to be 3-1 coming out of September. Reasonably, I think if you're a UVA fan, preseason, you probably sign up for that. So
Yeah.
that's just a matter of what you do the rest of the way. And at Clemson, at Pitt, at Notre Dame, at Virginia Tech's not great. But you get SMU at home, and you get a Carolina team at home, and we don't know anything about Louisville. I mean, Louisville's ranked. They haven't played anybody yet. We know nothing about Louisville. So we'll see. We'll see there, right?
Gonna learn some stuff next week. Yeah.
I mean, I think Louisville's better, but we will learn some stuff next week. But I think Louisville's better than UVA, but we don't know for sure how good or bad they are relative to a year ago. So I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see. Still early, but again, like you said, Virginia kind of on schedule here in terms of record, and kind of see what they can do down the stretch.
Yeah.
Maryland 27, Virginia 13. Aldrin J, go Cal. We got Cal Twitter in the comments.
That's good. Welcome.
Shout out to the fellas.
Welcome.
Cal up 21-3, I think, going into the fourth quarter here. So
do this every Saturday night. Welcome to the chat.
Looking better for Cal.
Yeah.
Mike, where to?
Duke 26, UConn 21, because then we start getting into blowouts. Well, we'll have one more that we'll talk about, the NC State game in a bit. But Duke 26, UConn 21. Yeah. I mean, it's not great when you're in a dogfight with UConn, It's just
Huskies can be nasty. I mean,
it's just not great. I don't know. Not ideal.
Did anyone catch anything? Nothing on that comment that I made?
Duke was up. Duke was up 17-7 at halftime. And their first 3 possessions of the second half, they just punted. They went 3 and out on 2 consecutive drives, and then had 8 plays, 34 yards punt on their third drive of the second half. The offense was dead coming out of halftime.
Did
right?
nothing.
So
yeah.
Meanwhile, the defense could not stop UConn in the third quarter. It was a mess. UConn scored back. They scored back-to-back touchdowns to start the second half. Aldrin J, we got a subscriber. Let's go.
Shout out to
baby.
Aldrin.
Let's go.
One more working towards that 500.
Every Saturday night, and then either Tuesday or Wednesday nights, we're here on the preview. We post it on social media. Welcome to the show. The drive chart's a little ugly for Duke. UConn, they tried a field goal, late-ish, try to get this close, and then they just couldn't get off the field. So credit to Duke offensively for burning some clock and finally getting some having some late second half success. Right, you get the field goal, you get the touchdown. Had that punt sandwich in there, but then you pick up first downs at the end to not give the ball back to UConn. So Duke kind of got it back into gear, but man, just really, really frustrating game. I think if you're a Duke fan, first half looked really good. The last 8 to 10 minutes of this game looked really good, and then that third quarter was just really, really ugly. And some of this is just growing pains, but you would have signed up at the beginning of the year for 3-0, given what they had returning, right? And the uncertainty with Manny Diaz in year one. And I think you would have signed up for it. But there's just some general frustration I have with their offense at times where I'm just man, Malik Murphy is really, really good. And their running game is just fits and starts. And it was okay today at times, but it's just man, I feel a lot of times he's just kind of on an island by himself on offense, watching their games. I felt that way against Northwestern. I felt that way a little bit today. It feels like there's just a lot of frustration offensively where it's just man, they just keep ramming their head into the wall. And I feel like they're a little bit more talented than this. So it's just, I think if you're a Duke fan, you got to be a little bit frustrated. But again, you would have signed up for 3-0 at the outset of the year. So how much are we going to complain?
What's been your favorite Duke performance this year, Mike, that has resulted in 26 points?
That's a really good catch.
They have scored
averaging
exactly 26 points in every game they've played so far. I don't know what to make of that.
26.0 points per game. That's not even a key number. Like, I'm talking 21, 28, 27, 24.
How do we keep ending up here? Like, what is going on in Duke?
26. 26 is a real weird number, man.
Yeah.
It's a real weird number. We've done it 3 consecutive times. Not even just like 3 times. We've done 3 consecutive times to start the year.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm definitely, I am very much concerned about Duke's offense, I will say. And kind of to what you were saying, I mean, the Malik Murphy thing, it feels like, and I, I've got Huskies on the mind, so I'm thinking of like an Alaskan sled dog team, except like Malik Murphy is the Husky that was like born and bred for this, and he's like the lead dog, and then like all the other dogs on the team are like bulldogs, and like there's like a lab and like a poodle, and like just like this total mismatch of characters. It's like, what are y'all all doing out here? Like, this guy knows what he's doing. What are the rest of y'all doing? And it's like, can somebody help Malik Murphy, please? Jordan Moore is the other sled dog out there. He's actually doing his part too.
Yeah, he's it because he's an all-conference wide receiver.
Yeah, he's very good.
Duke's 3-0. They go to Middle Tennessee State next weekend. In theory, they should be fine.
If they beat Middle Tennessee State, I think it'll be ranked.
Ranked Duke. Yeah, that'd be something.
And then they host North Carolina. They could win that game too. They could be 5-0.
They could
with
be
Georgia
5-0.
Tech coming to town in 3 weeks.
Georgia Tech's gonna be hosting game day after they beat Louisville next Saturday. They're gonna be hosting game day when.
Man,
so.
I'm not buying it with Duke. Let me just go ahead and say that I am not buying it. They're 3-0. Good on them.
They're very mid. I think
they're showing Pitt how to win all 4 of your non-conference games. Like, I get it, but I'm not buying it.
They're being a good role model for the Pittsburgh Panthers.
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, the defense is not bad. It's decent, but that offense, man, like they're going to play tougher competition at some point, and tougher competition is really not a high bar, and like it's going to get worse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I think you got to win the next 2 weeks if you're Duke, if you want to go to a bowl game. Okay? Because you got Middle Tennessee State, and then you got the rivalry game with Carolina, and you're hosting them, right? And I think that's a very winnable game, just given what we've seen out of Carolina so far this year. And Carolina's going to need that one for a bowl game. Just a really important swing game for both teams in regard to bowl eligibility. The schedule for Duke does not get much easier after that. Like, they travel to Georgia Tech, like we just mentioned. They host Florida State, which I think is extremely winnable. They host SMU. The back half of the schedule is just brutal, man. At Miami, at NC State, home against Virginia Tech, at Wake Forest. So when the next
very much end the year on like a 6-game losing streak. Like, that's on the table.
It's not. I mean, it's not looking good. It's in the a 6-game losing streak's definitely in the cards potentially.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
I don't know. Just see what you can do here. I mean, win 2 of your next 3, and then try to pick one off.
Yeah.
And there's a game in there that'll be weird, right? Whether it's home against Virginia Tech or going to NC State, right? Because NC State's been a little suspect. SMU, I'm not even sure SMU's starting the right quarterback. Like, they're a little suspect right now. So,
yeah. SMU's its own discussion.
There's some winnable games there. I mean, the schedule does get tougher, though. So, I mean, I think next week's really important. I think the Carolina game is really important on the 28th. And, yeah, I mean, see what you can do against Georgia Tech. You never know. Try to make that game competitive before you go into a bye week. And even if you lose that game, if you go into a bye week like 4-2 or 5-1, like, again, Duke fans would have signed up for that.
100%. I mean, they come out of that bye week and they got Florida State coming to town. You tell me they can't win that game?
That's what I'm saying. And then SMU the following week.
It's all right in front of you, Duke. Get it done.
Yep.
Duke 26, UConn 21.
They feel like a 4 or 5 win team, though, don't they?
They feel that way.
That's not to say they like won't make a bowl game, but they feel like a 4 to 5 win team on the surface. But I think they're going to end up looking better than that at the end of the year, potentially.
Yeah. Aldrin J. Duke going to the NCAA 25 dynasty rebuild method. Just win all your non-conference games to try to make a bowl game. Spot on.
Yeah. Spot on.
Let those of us who has not cast the first stone. Yeah.
That's right. NC State 30, Louisiana Tech 20. Joe, you hit on this on the rapid reaction. Louisiana Tech had a lead early here. Actually, they were leading 17-6 at halftime. Grayson McCall got hurt here. And I just want to get this out here. I push my chips to the middle of the table here. CJ Bailey looks like your starting quarterback.
Oh, yeah. Keep going. Keep going.
Now, again,
let him cook.
It wasn't let him cook. It wasn't perfect, right? 13 of 20, 156 yards. Interception wasn't great. He gave you a little bit in the running game, though, right? He had the touchdown run. That was nice. NC State was really kind of struggling to run the ball in this game. He gave him a little bit of a lift there. Kendrick Raphael had a nice little game. He had a 25-yard chunk play that was big. He had the touchdown run. Teams are scheming up for Jordan Waters, so you got to find a way to move the ball in other ways. And CJ Bailey provided you a little bit in the passing game that really this year we haven't really seen from Grayson McCall. So I don't know, man. I'm concerned with look, for all you can say about NC State's offense, though, I am concerned about NC State's defense. Concerned about it. They're giving up explosives. The passing defense in particular didn't look very good against Western Carolina. Obviously, it looked heinous against Tennessee, even though Nico threw a couple picks. Looked really, really bad in that game last weekend. I will say that NC State's rushing defense looked better here today, but again, you're not facing Dylan Sampson, who's probably an all-SEC running back, so that helps. But I think it was good for NC State to get out of this game with a win. But I have been, given what they had returning and how people were speaking of them in the preseason, I've been pretty underwhelmed so far with NC State. Even with the McCall injury today, I've been pretty underwhelmed.
Yeah. The defense, to me, I think has taken a little bit of a step back from what it was last year. But some of me wonders, how much do we really blame the defense for just what they have been versus, like, there's kind of a lack of complementary football going on where, I mean, the offense very much like fits and starts throughout this whole season so far, right? And a lot of this, again, we kind of point at new quarterback and kind of trying to mesh with the scheme, and it's been a struggle. And things kind of seemed to open up a little bit when CJ Bailey came in the game, and that is the last thing that Grayson McCall supporters wanted to see, because, again, it hadn't been super great when he's been in there, and the fact that it kind of perks up a little bit when he leaves, that is not a great sign for him.
No.
So I think a little bit of it, is that the defense isn't as good, but some of it is like there's a lot of pressure being put on them because the offense is struggling to move the ball in a lot of cases. And I mean, this is another situation. What was this? This was 21.5 or something. I think it was the spread pregame.
Yep.
I mean, you can see why I took Louisiana Tech to cover, and it's not that I know a whole lot about Louisiana Tech or feel real great about the Bulldogs this year, but like, NC State's just not in a place right now that they can totally run away from teams in the way that you'd like to see from a team that we thought was like a preseason top 25 kind of team. So we'll see how that continues to change. I'll be curious to know kind of what the injury status on Grayson McCall is. Like, are we gonna stick with CJ Bailey? Is he gonna come back out there? I mean, how does that change how things look? Is the game plan a little different next week? Like, there's a lot up in the air, I think, for NC State. And they're going to Death Valley next weekend, so you better figure it out quick.
Yeah. I mean, NC State was ranked coming into the year, but now if you had NC State against Boston College on neutral field, I'm probably taking BC. NC State playing Syracuse on neutral field. I'm probably taking Syracuse.
Yeah.
So
It looks like a touchdown for San Diego State in a completely disrespectful screen pass that he just like punched like 4 guys in the face running down the field. I don't know how that all happened, but anyways, we got a 24 to about to be 24 to 10 game, I assume. So anyways, sorry, please continue.
No, I'm just saying, like, NC State, I feel like they've been leaped by a couple of other teams that maybe we were thinking might be semi-improved, but maybe not at NC State's level. So that gives you an idea of kind of how water has found its level.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I will
that's all
say
got.
that the other thing I do want to point out, and I kind of thought about this earlier, and even before the injury, Grayson McCall might be a little bit thankful for DJU being in this conference because speaking of some highly
Go off,
inefficient
King.
stat lines, thankfully we got someone else to look at because 9 for 13 for 54 yards, and I think it was even worse than that like, before he went out with the injury.
Yeah.
He's struggling to find his place in this offense right now, I think. And this is a little bit of what I was worried about in the preseason was like, I know that's a name and he was good at Coastal Carolina, the Jamie Chadwell offense and all that stuff, but like, are we really sure this is a silver bullet? Like this is going to be something to elevate NC State's offense. And I think so far we've seen, no, it is not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't. Yeah.
So
The prospects on NC State, I think, this is feeling more like 7-5 than 9-3
yeah,
to me. We'll see.
we shall see. A lot of season left to be played. NC State 30, Louisiana Tech 20.
Virginia Tech 37, Old Dominion 17. Joey, the Hokies are off the schneid in Norfolk.
Hokies are on the board in Norfolk. Not.
How do you pronounce it? Yeah,
I'm gonna
on
hurt
the board.
myself. I don't know.
On the
Norfolk?
board.
Norfolk. Something.
Norfolk. They're on the board.
Shout out to Ricky.
Shout out to Ricky. Virginia Tech's defense was really, really good here. I mean, a couple of explosive plays, right? Which again have been the cause of concern. Old Dominion had to go their third string quarterback here. There was a 65-yard touchdown run off of a punt that wasn't great. Linebacker lost contain, and that's like where we've seen the issues. But Virginia Tech started fast here, right? The concern really in these games is Virginia Tech starting out slow. Jumped out to a 14-0 lead. They had the ball in plus territory. They went for it, and I liked the call, but they didn't. It was 4th and 3. Drones threw a slant in a tight coverage. It was incomplete. Old Dominion took over. Then Virginia Tech immediately forced a punt. So, like, complimentary football was there early in the game. They give up that long touchdown run I mentioned, and then Virginia Tech drove down the field, had a good drive going, and missed a short field goal, right, in the red zone. So the thing I want to highlight here is Virginia Tech in 6 red zone opportunities in this game only scored 3 touchdowns. They had the missed field goal, and they kicked 2 other field goals. They could have hung 50 on Old Dominion in this game. They didn't, right? They need to finish drives. So the offense, I think, is still a little bit of a work in progress, primarily in the passing game, which is what we've kind of mentioned on this podcast so far this year. It's like the passing game has been a little bit inefficient, feels like they've been forcing it. One thing that was encouraging here is they committed to the run, and when they committed to the run this game, they looked really good, right? So they had some explosive plays in the running game, and the starting defense was outstanding. 5 sacks, 4 of them from Antoine Powell-Ryland, we mentioned. The only other player in Virginia Tech history with multiple 4+ sack games was Bruce Smith. So that's really good. And, yeah, APR, really nice game. They had 5 sacks as a team, so he had 4 of them by himself. He was a monster. 9 tackles for loss. Forced a couple turnovers. So the defense, I think, by and large, was really good. Only gave up 10 points with the starters. The backups gave up a late touchdown. It was 37-10. The backups gave up a late touchdown. Yeah, running game was good. Just overall, a pretty encouraging performance. I think the fan base was a little angsty late in the first half when Tech turned it over on downs, up 2 scores, and missed a field goal. They were like, "Oh my God, like, why is this happening again?" But it never really felt like Old Dominion. I know it was like It was 14-10 at halftime, but it didn't really feel like Old Dominion was in the game to me. Like, a lot of fans were upset, but it didn't really feel like Old Dominion was in the game here. And a couple of explosive plays on defense, but overall defense was good. Running game was good. Drones, I think, looked good at times. He threw a really bad interception early second half, like late on the throw in the end zone, underthrew Jalen Lane, I think it was DeQuan Felton, underthrew him. That wasn't good. So, like, the downfield passing game is not necessarily outstanding right now, and they got to, I think, figure that out as they get an ACC play. Big game next week against Rutgers. I think it's a really good measuring stick game. If you find a way to run the ball against Rutgers, and you're able to win that game and go to 3-1, because I don't think anybody in the Virginia Tech fan base is feeling good about the Miami game with the way Miami's looked for obvious reasons, right? But I think if you win the Rutgers game and you're sitting there at 3-1, I think going into the year, a lot of people were thinking 3-1, 4-0 going into Miami was kind of the expectation. So you're kind of right where you thought you'd be. So, I mean, good win. This was 37-10 with like 4 minutes left. It wasn't very competitive. I felt good coming out of it, but with some concerns about the passing game. That's what I would say, and finishing drives in the red zone.
I mean, I feel like we have had, and we will probably continue to have concerns about the passing game here. And I think some of that is just a little bit of who Kyron Drones is. I mean, he can hit on some passes at times down the field and make some big things happen, but he's not super consistent with it, so it's, you kind of take the good with the bad of, well, he's going to make things happen at times, but it's not going to be, again, as consistent as you're looking for. I don't have a whole lot else on this one. A little bit going about the way you would think it would and kind of would expect it to, where, again, Virginia Tech got out to a hot start. Things kind of cooled off a little bit before halftime. Old Dominion a little bit got back in the game, but like you said, not super threatening. And then Virginia Tech kind of just came out of halftime, foot on the gas, and took care of business. So, credit to the Hokies that you went in 4-point lead at halftime and were able to just totally take care of business in the second half, and not there was no lemon booty in effect. There was no fear, no nothing. So,
three straight really good second halves to start the year, and not a slow start today. You had kind of the doldrums in the second quarter, but I mean, you started fast today, which I think is encouraging. So that's a step in the right direction. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's better. Yeah. So I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's a piece of me too here that's like, isn't Virginia Tech kind of supposed to be a run-heavy team? Like,
yeah.
Again, isn't that kind of what makes Kyron Drones special? And you got a guy like Bashal Tootin back there. Like, aren't we supposed to be building this thing around the run? So to see him go out there again, carry the ball 50 times for almost 300 yards and 3 scores on the ground, like that's taking care of business the way you planned on taking care of it. So,
yeah, play calling was a little bit better here. I know fan base was still bitching and moaning about it, as they always do, but I thought the running game was better anyway.
Well, what are fans for if not for bitching and moaning?
That's right.
Virginia Tech 37, Old Dominion 17.
We'll make this one pretty quick. Ole Miss 40, Wake Forest 6.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this, like, there were some plays here for Wake Forest. There were some screen passes that weren't completed that would have given Wake Forest an opportunity to either keep a drive alive or get an explosive play here or there that would have made this, I think, semi-competitive when it was like 30-3 or like 23-6. That would have like made the cover play a little bit more interesting, is what I would say. But like, it was clear Wake's defense, they were trying really hard, but Ole Miss just like, they could press the button. You know what I mean? Like they could hit the button that Wake Forest just didn't have. rare CW underdogs to not cover. But I think it was there. Like I it sounds crazy, but like I think it was there, particularly in the second and third quarter. And there were just some plays offensively like Wake Forest just could not hit on. I thought Jackson Dart, by and large, was really good for Ole Miss, like he usually is. So
he was, but I mean, I was going to say, I mean, it took Ole Miss a while to really feel like they were pulling away with it. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. In a way, like you said, there were plays to be made there, but by and large, I mean, Ole Miss seemed like quite very much so like the better team here, and yet you kept looking at the scoreboard and you're like, well, it's only like a 17-point game. Like that's not a crazy blowout for where it looks like one team is way better than the other, you know. So, but at the end of the day, I mean, there's a reason I was willing to lock up laying 24 points or whatever it was with Ole Miss. Is I think they're really good, and I don't know that Wake Forest is ready to, you know, really kind of threaten them in this way. So again, I don't have a lot here. I mean, credit to Wake Forest defense. I think they did make things tough on Ole Miss's offense at times, and they were in position to pick up a couple turnovers throughout the game. And the Wake defense, honestly, in giving up 650 yards, like, Ole Miss is going to do that to teams, but like Wake's defense made it look good, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know how to compliment a defense that gave up 650 yards in this game, but yeah, they made it tough to score, and that's ultimately what matters.
It was a lot of bend but don't break in the middle of this game, where it was like you're making Ole Miss kick field goals. So
yeah,
it's really hard to explain. Like if you're just looking at the box score and you didn't watch it, it's hard to explain. But like when Wake's down 3 scores, it felt like they were still kind of hanging around, which you don't always get that feeling. I mean, I just talked about the Virginia Tech Old Dominion game where like Tech was up 4 at halftime, and I personally did not feel like Old Dominion was in the game. Weirdly here, like, not that I thought Wake Forest was like in it to like win the game. I thought they were going to be like a little competitive here. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what I felt like. So, I mean, just a weird game how this played out, but this kind of felt like a crock potting a little bit.
Yeah, in a way, for sure. I would say it was. So, oh well, we move on, Wake. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, no shame in that game.
Yeah. Ole Miss 40, Wake 6. Cal with a long run set up a short touchdown pass. They are up 31-10. San Diego State, by the way, then turned around through sailed a pass over a receiver's head, and Cal came up with an interception. They're now driving. 7 minutes left. They are up 3 scores and about ready to put the game away. So
we're gonna be looking at 3-0 Cal.
Why stop at 3? I mean, keep that thing rolling, Cal.
After this weekend, it'll be 3-0 Cal. Mm-hmm. We have 3 blowouts here. I mean, we can start with
4-0, but you know, Florida State fans don't want to hear about that, so it's fine.
Well, I mean, who's gonna tell them? We'll tell them on the preview.
Bob Villa has an idea.
Change your name to Florida State football team after Cal beats that ass next week.
Excellent work, Bob Zilla.
That was really good. I appreciate that. That was good. That worked on a number of levels. That was an ode to the Washington football team. That was an ode to another Indian mascot. That was good. Anyway, we have 3 blowouts, Joey. We'll start with your team.
Let's do it.
Georgia Tech 59, VMI 7. I didn't watch any of this, so I'll just cede the floor to you.
Honestly, really disappointed with the effort here from Georgia Tech. I think they had to punt like twice, maybe 3 times in this game. They were only able to manage a shutout for like 54 minutes of this game. So, you know, we'll go watch the film. We'll work on it in practice and see what we can do. But really was hoping to see a little bit more here. No, I mean, they were up 38-0 at halftime, and I think 4 quarterbacks played in this game, and no, this was a nice little net crack game for Tech. Yeah. And I wanted to go back and look. I didn't have the chance to, but as I said in the rapid recap, it has been a long time since this team has played an FCS team, and just like it was never even like nerve-wracking, right? Like,
Yeah. Yep.
that sounds ridiculous, and it is, but it's, you know, it's true. Like, I don't know. The game that I think back to, and there's been some since then, I think, that qualified, but one of the things I think back to was like, I think it was 2015, they played Tulane, and they beat them like 65-7 or something like that, and there was a play, either third or fourth quarter of that game, where Matthew Jordan, the quarterback, I think, had a 60-yard touchdown run, and they asked Paul Johnson about it after the game, and he said something like, "Oh, I knew it was going to be a touchdown when we lined up before we even snapped the ball." And they're like, "Well, how did you know that?" He's like, "'Cause Tulane only had 9 players on the field." Like, so you run into those kinds of things where it's just, you know, easy, stress-free. So this was nice. Good for Tech to just get this done. Haynes King, I don't think even played in the second half. He had 3 passing touchdowns in the first half and got out of Dodge, and it's fine. So good stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice win.
Georgia Tech 59, VMI 7.
North Carolina 45, North Carolina Central 10. The only reason why this is compelling is because Mac Brown said that after Jacoby Criswell's performance, they were going to continue shuffling quarterbacks.
Do you think Mac Brown watches much SMU football these days?
I mean, is SMU on their schedule? They are not.
I can't remember.
They're not on their schedule. I'm going to go with no, but I personally know where you're going with this.
I mean, SMU can't figure out let's just rotate our quarterbacks mid-game thing. I don't think North Carolina's going to be able to either. So
Yeah.
Just pick one.
Just pick one. Yeah.
Hell, do rock, paper, scissors in the locker room before the game, or like flip a coin, or do something. Like, just pick one. Just pick one and go with it. Don't do this screwing around with both of them thing.
I mean, based on what we saw Saturday, and again, this is kind of interesting, right? Because I mean, Connor Harrell's a sophomore, Jacoby Criswell's a senior, right? Jacoby Criswell, 14-23 for 161 and touchdown, started the season as a third-string quarterback, right? He comes in here and plays really well, add an element to the running game as well, right? Which I know that's Connor Harrell's thing. Like, he's better on the ground than through the air. Carolina's looking for balance on offense, right? They have Amarian Hampton, right? All ACC player, potential All-American type player. Probably not in this offense, but ordinarily he would be if they had any sort of passing game. That's what kind of they're searching for, right? They win this game by 5 touchdowns, and Mac Brown's coming out after the game saying, like, they're going to rotate quarterbacks. I don't think that's the right answer, Mac. Like, I don't think that's the answer. So that's spoken like a man who's afraid that Connor Harrell's going to transfer.
Friggin' let him. Like,
who cares? That's my point. Who cares? You can't find it. You
got a quarterback that you won't let him throw the ball. Let him transfer.
You have had 2 of the best quarterbacks in school history under your watch in the second tenure, and you're worried about a sophomore quarterback. I mean, that's just like a narrative thing for me. But like, you're afraid of that guy transferring after the type of quarterback that I know you can recruit. That's what you're worried about.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I am prepared for UNC to be like the worst bowl eligible P5 team in the like. I don't think that they're very good. This schedule is a joke, and they are going to win some games that it like. Again, they're not good, but they're going to win, and it's driving me nuts already. So stay tuned for watching me descend into madness talking about this UNC team this year.
I mean, they play James Madison next Saturday at home. They're going to be favored there.
I mean, 2 years ago, you played the 2 years ago James Madison team. Like, no, you're not. Like, they're probably going to come into your building and beat you. Right. But this isn't your older brother's James Madison team. Yeah, like,
I mean, last year's team, that game would have been competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about earlier at Duke afterwards. It's a swing game for both teams, right? We talked about it from the Duke standpoint. Home against Pitt, home against Georgia Tech, at UVA. They're going to go to a bowl game. Home against Wake, at BC, home against NC State. I skipped over to the Florida State game by accident, but like, they're going to win these games. They're going to win some games here.
Man,
Carolina, Florida State.
That-
Like we talked
you're-
about how we think North Carolina's some ass, but like North Carolina, Florida State, I'm taking Carolina.
Do you think they can score more than 26 points against Duke?
Stop.
I don't know.
That seems to be it seems to be the watermark for Duke.
I could absolutely see a scenario. I look at this schedule. They could beat James Madison next week and go 4-0. 4-8 could be on the table.
No, I mean, yeah,
Tell me which
I
one of
guess.
those teams they can't lose to.
I mean, they could lose to any of them.
They could lose to all of them. Is what I'm saying. Like,
They could beat any of them.
we sure?
Name one team
I don't know.
on there name one team on there they can't beat. In theory, we've watched enough ACC football. Like, who on there can't they beat? They're not playing like national championship Clemson. They're not playing anybody.
There's only one. Damn it! It is almost 2:00 in the morning on the East Coast, and there is one team on this schedule that I really want to say that I don't think they can beat. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because I don't need that coming back to haunt me at a later date. So I'm not going to do it. But I think you know where my head's at, Mike.
We'll see you on October 12th. We'll see you on October 12th.
I think you know where my head's at. Anyways,
I mean, Georgia
North
Tech
Carolina,
will be Georgia. Look, I will say it. I will say it because you won't, and it won't. Look, if I say it, it won't jinx you. Georgia Tech will be favored there, but just
Yeah.
be careful. Is all I'm saying. Just be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. North
Just be
Carolina
careful.
45, NC Central 10. Yeah, no kidding.
I
There's
mean,
a reason
Miami's
I don't want to commit to that right now. Like,
Miami's a runaway train. They beat Ball State 62-0. Cam Ward had 5 touchdowns in the first half. Do you have
Man.
anything here?
not really, other than what I said on the rapid recap, which was this is where I'm noticing it, Mike. I'll be honest. Is I feel like in years past, you would look up and you would say, like, it's like 5 minutes till halftime. Like, why is Miami down a field goal? To, you know, why is it like 14-11 or some like weird score? And why can't you put this game away? This Miami team is absolutely taking care of business from the first whistle of the game, right? Like, and that's where, like, I think there is something telling about that there is zero screw around in this team, that they just take care of business the way that they have.
Yeah.
They will be challenged a lot more than they have been so far, but it's that lack of screw around at any given point that, like, I'm noticing a difference here, and I'm feeling a little bit better about my prediction that they might win the league this year.
I mean, I said that too. I feel good about it.
Yeah.
Everybody made fun of us, but what are you going to do?
Did Tony pick Florida State to beat Clemson in the ACC championship game?
I don't remember because I had to split like with
Oh, that's right.
15 minutes left of that podcast.
He definitely had Florida State in that game, and I'm wondering how he's feeling about that right now.
Bad.
I feel like that might have been slightly misguided.
Yeah.
Anyways, Miami
a smart
62, Ball State nothing. Yeah. Oh, he is for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, let those of us who have not made a horrific prediction cast the first, as we say.
Yeah. That's it, right?
Is that it?
Think
We get them
that's
all?
it. Right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's only been an hour and 34 minutes, so
I mean,
I thought
Cal's
we
up
had a lot more to go.
31-10. Cal's up 31-10 with 2 minutes left. We've kind of been recapping it as it goes. Like, Cal's the better team.
Yeah. Cal screwed
going like
around
it should.
in the first half and has taken care of business in the second half. And I don't know that San Diego State is all that good, but Cal is definitely showing that they're the better team here after halftime. They cleaned it up, and they're hitting some big plays. And
They just stopped San Diego State on on 4th down with 2 minutes left. So, I mean, this game's a wrap.
That's it. So, congrats to the Bears. They're going to be 3-0 and headed to Tallahassee next week.
Yep.
And for that, they might be getting College game day for the first time here in a couple weeks when Miami comes to town. So don't count your chickens before they hatch, which I'm sure is a phrase they use all the time in Berkeley. But,
Yeah, I'm sure. This is Cal plays was this 2 weeks, you said?
It's October 5th. So they play Florida State next
Okay.
week, then they got a bye, and then they've got Miami at home.
Yeah. No. Okay. Maybe. I was gonna say 2 weeks is gonna be Alabama, Georgia, the game day, for sure.
Yeah. You can kind of guess where they're going to be
Yeah.
ahead of time. So, anyways, Lee Nobody, by the way, calls it out. Miami at Cal for game day. And as we found out in the preview, I think Cal is one of the 4 power programs that's never hosted game day. So, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, and I might be because I don't know that much about Cal. But they're, from what I understand about Cal, both not only the football program and the athletic department, but also just like the institution at large. I could see there being like a non-zero chance that there's like some reason that the Cal administration like doesn't want game day there. I'm just saying. Like I've considered the thought of what if they've been offered it and said no. So I hope I'm wrong. Somebody tell me if I'm just like flat wrong about that. But are we totally unwilling to consider the possibility? Is what I'm asking.
Oh, this is what we get when we podcast at 2 a.m. That's what we get.
That's right.
This is what happens.
That's right. This is what happens. Mike, do we need to give out some awards?
We're gonna put this one out here. Aldrin J.
I swear I'm not. It's specifically Cal. I'm not saying this about Stanford. I'm not saying this about San Jose State. Like I'm not doing the California thing. It's specifically Cal.
It's very funny.
There's your reason. Is Pat McAfee is not allowed on the Cal campus. Explains so much. Explains so much.
Shout out to everybody in the comments tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we've had a good crowd here yet again. We
have.
got a good crowd building in the comments. So shout out to the people that have been here.
We have been. I mean, more than just. I mean, shout out Lee Nobody's a regular, but like more than just the regulars. We've had some new new faces dropping in, bringing the heat, which we appreciate.
Absolutely. Thanks to y'all for joining us for sure. Mike, let's give out some awards and get ourselves out of here. How's that sound?
Yeah, let's do it. Play the music.
The Go ACC Moment of the Week. Mike, you had a good one.
I mean, the Go ACC Moment of the Week. Old Dominion scored a garbage time touchdown with like no time left. It was 37-17, right? And they were swag. They were playing swag surfing in the crowd at Old Dominion, and they were setting off fireworks down by 20 with like no time, with like 2 minutes to go. Our pal David Cunningham from Tech Sideline that we've had on here multiple times. He friend of the podcast, listens to the pod, and we've brought him on here several times.
Our guy.
He mentioned that on social media, so very funny.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mine, and I'm going to hope this doesn't screw up the sound here, but I can't get away from...
I tell the teams all the time, momentum takes one play. I mean, that's it. That's all it takes to change it. And, we just, obviously have had some opportunities that, that we needed to respond in those situations.
There's something special about losing a game in kind of embarrassing fashion, and you're in your post-game press conference, and there's an alarm that goes off telling you to get out of the building.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Go ACC to that, Mike Norvell. That's my Go ACC Moment of the Week. You have a Brian Van Gorder Memorial You Tried Award.
I think it goes to Pat Narduzzi. for like mostly for just like creating a fake controversy with the officiating after you win the backyard brawl. Like,
Yeah.
he was out there trying to sound like Ryan Day, you know. I want to know where Luke Holtz is right now.
Mom, we have Ryan Day at home.
Yeah.
It's Pat Narduzzi.
He's barely alive. Like, yeah, I don't know. Being really upset about the officiating after picking up. I mean, one of the biggest wins of your tenure, honestly.
Yeah. Nasty rivalry game. I get it. Like, but I mean, and the referees were a little heavy-handed with the flags, we'll say, in this game. But
yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
I didn't see anything egregious that was worth complaining about on the field after the game. Definitely not. So, yeah, go ACC to that. Brian Van Gorder Moore, you tried.
We have another Cal fan in the comments, Gerardo Leone. Bring on FSU. Cal is ready. Cal Twitter's ready. Cal
Twitter wants to smoke.
They want all that smoke. I do appreciate the Cal fans, man. I appreciate the Cal fans in the comments.
Cal fans know about smoking. Bad stereotyping. Sorry. Please continue.
Stereotyping. It is definitely not legal there. Moving on. Weekly awards.
The Kobe Bryant Memorial Volume Shooter of the Week Award is about to get a retired member of the club as DJ Uyunglele.
I can't just go back to the well like this every week, can we?
Again, we'll share this because we got to find someone else. And honestly, his stat line not that wildly inefficient in this particular game. I mean, 16 of 30 for 201. I mean, better than what we've been getting, but certainly that first. I can't get away from what I saw and what Scott texted us that he was at one point 6 for 7 for 7 yards and an interception. So I would start there for sure.
I was going to give it to Wake Forest running back room.
Tough scene.
Again, not sack adjusted. Okay, so I mean, a lot of this is the Hank Bachmeier mess. Like they weren't able to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
But in college football, those count towards rushing yards. 32 carries for 46 yards.
Yeah. Not how you draw it up.
Yeah.
Kobe.
The Queen Elizabeth II Memorial You Died Award, while we're on the topic, goes to Wake Forest. Congratulations.
Yeah. Just a little bit buried in this game. Just a little bit.
Congratulations.
Runner-up is Ball State.
Yeah. Player of the week. I got a couple. Amari and Hampton. And I mentioned this to you before the podcast started, and you brought up a good point. Like, do we really want to bring up players of the week with an FCS matchup? But when you run for over 200 yards and you have the type of game that he had, I think it has to be mentioned.
Yeah.
And my other candidate is Antoine Powell-Ryland for Virginia Tech, the 4 sacks we mentioned that tied a school record. I think just that alone, you got to mention it.
Yeah. Give me Eli Holstein.
Yes.
What a performance from him and from that Pitt team, winning that game and the comeback they had in the fourth quarter. Really impressive performance from them and a way to win that game in a big spot there for Pitt. So credit to him. And that's a game that, again, put them in that spot last year. Not a chance that Pitt was coming back and winning that game. But I think you saw some improvements from them, and that's how they were able to pull off the win there today.
Agree.
So, team of the week?
I mean, I think the team of the week has to be Pittsburgh. I mean, winning the Backyard Brawl.
Yeah.
Winning the Backyard Brawl, the way they did it, it's got to be Pitt.
Yeah, shout out to Pitt. Hail to Pitt. Got that one done, and big rivalry win, and as we said, we're one win away from breaking the streak once and so don't screw it up now, Pitt.
What could possibly go wrong against Youngstown State?
That's right. Mike, anything else on week 3? Or should we work on getting out of here?
It's 10 after 2. I need to go to bed. Yeah.
Yeah. Likewise. Let's get out of here.
Hour and 44 minutes with teams on bye weeks. So this is Scott's gonna wake up and send us the WTF
what the hell
message
text.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that one. let's get out of here. We got week 4 coming up. We're going to come back and preview that. Do we have weeknight games? Let me look as we're right here. Hang on. Keep what right there. Yeah, we got a Friday night game. Noted ACC matchup: Stanford at Syracuse. So
Oh my God, a sicko special.
it's time for that game. So that'll be in the old Carrier Dome up in Syracuse. That'll be Friday night at 7:30 on ESPN. So we'll come back. We'll preview that game as well as a full Saturday slate. We've got some pretty good conference games next week. NC State at Clemson, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Miami, got South Florida, Cal's and Florida State. So keep it tuned here. We're going to get you ready for those games. Going to be a fun weekend of ACC football coming up. So again, keep it tuned here.
Honorary ACC member Rutgers is playing Virginia Tech in Blacksburg.
In Blacksburg. That's important for the Hokies. I would not like that spot on the road as much as I do it at home. So
yeah, agreed.
We will talk about that later this week. We'll probably go live. It'll probably be Wednesday night that we come back. So if you're watching on YouTube, you want to join us in the comments, keep an eye out Wednesday night. Go hit that subscribe button, hit the like, hit the bell icon. You'll find out when we're going to go live and talk about those games, and you can help us preview them. We would appreciate the folks that do that with us. So in any case, youtube.com/@the ACC Football Podcast. Hit the subscribe button. Again, like button. We appreciate that. We're on Twitter at FTRSJoey, at Mike McDaniel SI, together at BC Podcast ACC. You can send us an email, the longest email address known to man, basketballconferencepodcast@gmail.com.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Where else in the social medias, Mike?
Facebook.com/basketball conference, rate, review. Find most of our podcasts there. Instagram at BC Podcast ACC. Joey's already plugged the YouTube. Like he mentioned, we're probably going to be going live Wednesday night for the Week 4 preview. So come join us then.
Please do. Please do. Mike, that's all I got. Anything else on Week 3?
We have hit 400 subscribers.
Hell yeah. Look at Cal Twitter getting us there. Shout out to
Twitter got
Aldrin
us there,
J.
baby.
Shout out to Aldrin J. Shout out to Bob Zilla. Shout out to everyone. Appreciate the folks for hitting that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much.
Bang.
Bang.
100 away from monetizing that bad boy. I mean, it's no secret.
Building the community.
That's one way to put it.
Also that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, you want to come back and preview Week 4?
1 hour and 47 minutes. Yes.
That's right.
Yes, we're ready.
All right. For that guy, Mr. Mike McDaniel, for producer Scott, who has long since gone to sleep, I am Joey Weaver. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will talk to you again very, very soon. Until next time, go ACC.